Welcome tonight, you guys, to the Grab Bar, the Good, the Bad, and the Dangerous by Nina Ria. Um, and Nina, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, mine. I actually pronounce it Nina, but I answer
Sorry
to
about
either.
that.
So I'm Nina Ray. I'm an occupational therapist. I work in California, in Oakland, outside of San Francisco, and I'm CAPS certified, and I did the CHM Executive Certificate in Home Modification, and I'm an occupational therapist. Currently, I work in home care mainly, and I'm starting to move towards this private uh, provider model. So yeah, that's me.
Nice. And I don't know who the phone caller is. Let me see if I can close that off. Well, are you ready, Nina?
I guess I am.
All right. I'm switching this over to Nina. If you can, unless you have a question, please mute your mics. Um, And then also, please ask your questions. It's always better, it's always more fun when you're presenting if it's more of a conversation than just a presentation. So, if you have any thoughts, please bring them up. I'm sure Nina would love to talk to you. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm gonna switch you over.
Great. Well, hi everybody. And I have this on my full screen, so I'm not able to see the chat notes or anything. So please speak up if you have a question. Or Karen, if you want to stop me anytime if you see chat notes.
Okay.
Can you see my screen right now?
Uh, does it say aims of this presentation, or am I got mine up?
I think you are still in yours then. Let's see. I have. So right now I've got the front page, the grab bars, the good, bad, and ugly, or the good, bad, and dangerous.
Can somebody tell? Does anybody see that? What are you guys seeing? I don't really know.
Maybe I need to accept it. Hang on. Let me get out of this
Yeah,
view.
that could be.
Okay, here we go. Thing here. I'm doing it to get it all going.
It says you're the presenter. I don't know if it's gone through or not.
Yeah. I'm clicking on a few things. It's getting my permission.
Okay. There we go.
Okay, so let's. Can you see me now?
Yep.
All right, now I'm going to make it full screen. I hope. There we go. Now, can you see that?
Yep.
All right. Okay, so let's see. So that's me, Nina Ray, occupational therapist, CAPS, ECHM, and NDT trained, certified. And I live in Oakland, California. So the aims of this presentation, I just want to start the discussion about grab bars. I'm going to go over some of the things that I've had to thought about them, and please chime in. So we're going to talk a little bit about why we recommend them and who should make the recommendation. I think I'm a little biased on that. Where they should be located, and we'll talk about what different types of grab bars and some different installation options, and also who should install grab bars. And I added a little, just one or two slides on finances as well, Karen. So think about why we recommend grab bars, and of course it's for fall prevention. And we talked a little bit one day about whose definition of a fall and what is a fall. I figure if it looks like a duck and swims like a duck and quacks like a duck, it might be a fall. But this person looks like she's fallen. But the World Health Organization has a more formal definition. And theirs is an event which results in a person coming to rest inadvertently on the ground or floor or other lower level. So that kind of covers falling onto the toilet and falling onto the bed or falling onto the couch. I thought we'd look at some of the facts so we have them as backup. So more than 1 in 3 people aged 65 years or older fall each year. That's a lot of people, and age 65 is a pretty young group. The risk of disability, however, and other life-changing problems caused by falls increases with age. So they have a lot of statistics available on NIH seniorhealth.gov. That's a great resource. Falls are the leading cause of death by unintentional injury for older adults. The second leading cause is motor vehicle accidents. So look at hospital admissions. Falls account for 25%, that's huge, of all hospital admissions and 40% of all nursing home admissions. 40% of those admitted do not return to independent living. 25% die within a year. And many falls don't result in injuries, but a large percentage of non-injured fallers, 47%, can't get up without assistance. And yeah, isn't that really impressive?
It's shocking.
Yeah, I'm treating a person right now in home care she's in an assisted living facility, and she was checked in for lunch and breakfast, or for breakfast and dinner that she didn't attend, and she was on the floor from 8 o'clock at night until 2 o'clock the following day.
Wow.
So she didn't actually injure herself in the fall, but the stay on the floor is what really hurt her. And when a person falls, the period of time spent immobile often affects the outcome. Muscle cell breakdown starts to occur within 30 to 60 minutes. I thought that was incredible.
Yeah.
30 minutes, that's really amazing, especially with our older people. Obviously, dehydration and pressure sores and hypothermia and pneumonia. All of these statistics are out there, and we know all of this, but I think that it's really impressive to see the numbers. From the CDC, the falls are the most common cause of traumatic brain injury. 81% of
Oops, you're breaking up.
and oh, I'm breaking up.
Yeah.
Can you hear me again?
Yeah, now we can hear you. I don't know.
I have a little echo in my ear, in my headphones.
Yeah, there's something that keeps coming on that says phone call, and I don't know if that has some extra noise or what's going on with that.
Do you think it's something from me?
No, I think it's somebody who's joining us via the phone.
Oh, okay. All right. So this is an interesting brochure from Caroline Feller, and it's worth checking out as well. And these are just a few more statistics. More than 90% of hip fractures are caused by falling, most often falling sideways onto the hip. And 1 out of 5 hip fracture patients dies within a year of the injury. And 1 in 3 adults who lived independently before their hip fracture remains in a nursing home for at least a year. So the costs of this are really impressive. I thought it was interesting, 50 to 60% of falls occur in homes and in immediate surroundings. And that's where we're dealing with, of course. 21 to 53 slips and trips, and 45% reported environmental factors. So the others were I fainted, whatever, the other things, but 45% reported environmental factors. And the statistics that I read talked about that that people don't fall and more in the bathroom than other places. I believe the living room was one of the most common places that people fell. But when we fall in the bathroom, we're twice as likely to result in an injury. compared to those falling in the living room. So the bathroom is obviously one of our first focuses. And most bathroom falls occur entering and exiting the tub and showering on and off the toilet. So when we think about who should make grab bars recommendations, I think that occupational therapists are really uniquely qualified to make recommendations. And because we look at the type, the location, the position, and what they're being used for, not just what is typical. This is a little wordy. But basically, I think that when an occupational therapist recommends one grab bar, we're doing it for a lot of different reasons. We're looking at that particular bar, the size, the thickness, the color, the texture. We're looking at where it goes. We're looking at the whole home, you know, is this the right bathroom to do it in? Is this the right place? And we're looking at what the person is doing. We're looking at how the person is moving while they're doing this activity. We think about the client in the past. We think, you know, for instance, fear of falling. We might change what we're recommending depending on the person's anxiety levels. We're looking at what's going on right now and the future. What's their diagnosis? What are they likely to need in the future? And we think about their preferences. What do they like? And we think about their culture. You know, there's so many differences between what one person will want in their bathroom compared to another, depending on their culture and their background. Habits and routines, health, diagnosis, and prognosis. And also, of course, the availability and the caregivers and the budget. So that's a lot of things, and I think occupational therapists do more of those compared to other professionals who tend to recommend grab bars. I don't know if anybody disagrees with that. So there's evidence to back that up. If you go to the CDC has so much data out there. In the Home and Recreation Safety, their guide, it's a really an impressive guide. So there is evidence that the multifactorial fall prevention interventions work, and we talked about that last week or the week before last. And it shows that that multifactorial programs, prevention intervention.
Ooh, you're breaking up again, Nina.
Oh dear.
You know, can you turn your volume down a little bit? Maybe, are you hearing an
Sure.
echo still?
Yeah, let me get out of this and.
If you can turn your volume down a little bit on your computer, maybe it won't echo. I don't know if that's why it's echoing or what. And it's a very faint echo.
Oh. So I'm down at my lowest. Can you
Oh,
still hear me?
yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. No, sorry about that. I just was wondering, there's some echo or something.
There is an echo. Well, maybe I'll take off my headphones because maybe that'll change it. Can you still hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see if that helps because I just had echo. I had headphones on. So this guide gives a lot of detail and a lot of recommendations for how to create multifactorial fall prevention interventions if anybody's interested in that. And there are studies, again from CDC, that I still hear that echo.
Me too.
That show that when just focusing on home modification as a single intervention, they do show reduced falls. But these studies highlight the need for the role of occupational therapists in assessment and recommendation. So if you want to look at that evidence, you can find that at this reference. It's the compendium of homes or of fall prevention programs in 2015. It's really interesting. So some of the things that we look at when we think about people's falls, we look at age, gender, race, medical, vision, vestibular, strength, fear of fall, depression, all of these intrinsic things, and also the extrinsic factors like medication and the environment, the person's clothing and footwear choices and needs, and their assistive devices. I think it's interesting about the age and also the gender, the falls, the statistics show that women fall more frequently than men, but men die when they fall
Wow.
more frequently than women. So it seemed to me that men were falling from riskier things. You know, they were the ones up on the ladder and up on the roof, whereas the women were falling from lower surfaces, basically.
That would make sense.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so the fall risk. Let me see where it is. The fall risk. Men are more likely than women to die from a fall. Exactly. Women are 2.2 times more likely than men to have a fracture after a fall. And older women are injured in falls more than older men. It's just, mountains of evidence. It's really interesting. And we, as occupational therapists, we understand the effect that a disease has on our sensory motor systems. It's not just a diagnosis. It's not just whether somebody has a fracture or somebody has a fracture plus MS or a cognitive deficit. We look at and find out and tease out the effect that the disease has for that particular person on their sensory motor system and capabilities. Again, we know the sensory motor system. These are the things that we're looking at. The vision, hearing, peripheral sensation, vestibular, muscle strength, reaction time. These are all things that we work on, we understand, and we understand how, when we're looking at the environment, how to compensate for it, we understand these things. We understand about the fear of falling. We understand that it's not just the motor, those other things, it's also the anxiety about falling can create an increased fear of falling. From fear, we become more inactive, then that makes us weak. Weakness creates a higher fall risk. And when we are weak and we have a fall risk and we're inactive, we become isolated and then we become depressed. And that
Yeah, the woman I just got called in on, her daughter said, "Well, all she's done is read and eat, lay in bed and read." And that's what I thought is I wonder if she's fallen and she's just afraid to get out of bed now.
Right, I think it's really interesting sometimes to talk to people about the things that they do that they feel are their highest risks, and then I talk to them about the things that they don't do anymore.
Ah,
And very often it's because of fall risk. They I'm fine, I just take a sponge bath. I don't want to take a bath anymore. I don't want to take a shower anymore. Well, why? Because if you kind of tease it out, it's usually because they're afraid of falling.
that,
And
it's a
the
valid
environment,
fear in some cases.
yeah, I still hear that echo. So we know body dynamics. I think that so many times I go to people's homes and see grab bars installed that actually impair the person's movement. That they hold on to a grab bar that's in front of them when they're sitting down on the toilet and they're just lowering themselves with their upper body rather than putting themselves a good position to use our body dynamics properly. So occupational therapists understand that, and I think that's why each person needs an individual assessment.
Right.
And then OTs know grab bars. We know all the things that are out there. We see them, we play with them, we're interested in them, we find them. I love this one. It's got a flusher. See the green button
Oh,
right there? That's actually a toilet flusher
how
that's
cool.
attached to there. And the other side is the hang down toilet paper holder. So that's from archieproducts.com. I've never used it. So then we think about where should grab bars be located, and I think instead of just a list of it needs to be this height off the ground or this far from the anything, this is individual. When we're looking at people's homes, we're not looking at ADA rules or regulations. Those are not for homes. We're looking at the individuals who are in the house and who are likely to be there. So we recommend the grab bars where they're needed. Of course, there are typical places. So we think about where the environment and the activity challenge the abilities of the client. So we look at where the house and what they're doing there overcomes the ability for the client to do it. Of course, the need is unique for each client. And an occupational therapy evaluation will really identify the activities that put the client at risk, as well, like we just said, about as well as those being avoided because of risk. The occupational therapist will recommend the optimal solution for that person. So I think the big difference that I see in an occupational therapy evaluation for bars is that we want to see the person moving around. We want to see what they can do and what they can't do. And then we look at both the person, the activities, and the environment. So we've got some typical places. The grab bars here on the wall, along the side of the tub, or the bench. There's another one here beside the toilet commode. There's some more bathroom grab bars. These are nice, fancy, good-looking ones. Good photograph them. This is a toilet paper holder with a grab bar ring over it. This is another toilet paper holder, kind of sideways U. And this angled one has a soap dish on it. This circular one is just circular and fancy and can go over a faucet in the shower. And this this darker one is has a little shelf under it. I think this one, I can't really see it properly. I think it's a flip down one.
There really are some really cool grab bars out there.
There really are. There's some really impressive ones. And I think we need to always think about other places, not just the bathroom. This is, I think this can be a really challenging area right away.
There,
Helpful.
there you go.
And yeah, we have some risky activities. This is a pretty even if this looks like the chair of the stair lift is blocking any real probability of the person falling down the stairs, but it certainly is anxiety producing. So again, that fear of falling can be helped a lot with a grab bar in the proper place.
Yeah.
And a grab bar like this can help stabilize the person when they're having to maybe move the seat or swivel the seat or put it in position if it's one that gets flipped out of the way. I like this grab bar as well. It's a newel rail. Have you ever used one of those?
I've never used one, but it looks like a great handrail.
Yeah, so it comes from one side to the other of this, whatever this rail is called at the end of the stairs, and it's often a problem spot where the other side is a little far away. So if you Google that, you'll find a few examples of it. So this again is just looking at where the environment is challenging the particular person, not just looking at the right place to put grab bars. And thankfully, I live in California, so I know nothing about snow and ice, but I know a lot of you do. So obviously the environment and the outside environment challenges a lot, and that has to have a great effect on it. So thinking about the particular grab bars, what's the best type of grab bar? There's a lot of them out there. But I think one of my pet peeves, and I think I've heard you talk about it, Karen, as well, that they really do not have to be ugly.
Exactly.
I think a lot of ugly grab bars are put in when when they don't have to. Sometimes the ugly ones are just the cheapest ones, and that's the only option available. But sometimes they're put in just because people don't know that there are other options out there. So I just gathered up some photographs of some grab bars and some collections that I thought looked really great. I just realized I don't have a reference on this one, and I should have put that on. But I like these grab bars beside the toilet. I don't know if you see that well. The ones behind the toilet are flipped down and pretty low profile. These ones are bright green to highlight it,
Look how
and they come
high
in.
those are, though. Those would be hard
Yeah,
to use for transfers.
I know that. I think that's one of the things about a lot of these photographs that you find. You say, that's wonderful, except for it just wouldn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's it seems like these are a lot of these photographs are just staged. Um, and actually, I looked at that, and the same thing with this. These are some beautiful grab bars, but I bet there was no OT involved in creating that threshold.
Yeah.
If you're needing to use this flip down um, shower bench that's attached to the wall and looks great to flip back up, this step is going to be really pretty significant, and the door opens in an area that you're not going to be able to hold any grab bar.
Can I interrupt you real quick, Nina? It looks like there's someone that's on the phone and we're getting playback from the phone. So if you are on the phone, if you could hit mute on your phone, that might help a lot as far as some of the playback we're getting on that. Thank you.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, good. Yes.
Um, right, so I think that I pulled a lot of these photographs I pulled because I was just searching for illustrations of different types of really nicely looking grab bars, but some of these photos have some real issues with access. So, for instance, the threshold that's right here, and also the door to this beautiful shower is opening in a way that the person has to walk in without being able to put a hand on the grab bar or on the wall at all. Um, this one is oh,
Uh,
this Karen, I hadn't seen it before. It's a choreographed shower product that they have a whole series of, if you see this one, they have a series. So you choose your shower type and stall. So for instance, this one is a tub. And then you choose your wall color, and it comes, it's a modular
whoa.
product. And then you choose your accessories. So for instance, these grab bars, and then you choose your joints and trims. So it's a whole, it seems that I hadn't seen it before. I'd be interested to hear if other people have seen it.
I've never
Um,
seen it.
yeah. And so the grab bars on this, they call them Barre, but they say when I looked into the product specifications, and they said that each holds up to 300 pounds. So I think they are considering them grab bars. And they're more aesthetic looking if you look at the product online. The grab bars that go with this line are actually pretty. They have and I think this is a product that is fitting into a typical shower stall, kind of like the best bath idea, but it really is lacking the real accessibility. It didn't seem to have any low threshold um, products that I could see.
You know what though? We've had requests to put in grab bars where there's a hollow surround. The shower surround is hollow, and it's a
Hmm.
really risky thing to do because it's hard to really get a good place to mount the grab bar and to prevent the grab bar mounting from moving at all, which means you can destroy the surround real easy, which is a huge liability thing. So we've actually been paid to take out the surrounds and put in new ones. And some of it is a lot, there's a lot of doing to it. That looks like it might be something that's really kind of easy.
Yeah. Yeah, and it seems like this is a reinforced, when it's just talking about the grab bar part of it, it seems like you've got a lot of choices. It's a reinforced background so you can place your grab bars as you wish.
Nice.
So besides the no threshold, I think it does seem to be a more simple fitting into one of those surrounds. Um, Again, you can get grab bars of any style. These are a color purist, so it's one style. It's hard to see these photographs, I understand. And then the transitional grab bar is a little bit more traditional style of a grab bar, more traditional style. But there's a lot of different styles out there. This is a company, I don't know how to say it, Point Giglio. And they have many, many choices in color and coatings. They have the square ones and the stainless steel in lots of different colors. And one in particular, like one of the Pointed Giglios, the Prestigio, that one range within those. And again, the same company has this grab bar with a toilet paper holder. And then they have, this is a grab bar with a removable seat that can hang. I haven't had experience with this, but it looks really interesting because it looks like it could really be low profile and get out of there. This again is the same company. They're using the slider for the handheld shower is an actual grab bar. And I don't know about you guys, but this is the first time I've seen this type of shower door. I love it. See how it's a kind of a split shower door where the top opens and what is that called? Like a barn door or no, not a barn door. I don't know what it's called, but the door is split to a lower part and an upper part. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So a caregiver can keep their feet dry while helping the person in there. I like that.
Ginny says that's called a Dutch door.
Dutch door. Thank you. Yeah, that's the first time I had seen that. I really liked it. So in grab bars, it's not necessarily for straight bars, but all grab bars, we think they're
Darn, you're breaking
on
up
them.
again. I don't know what to do about that.
I'm going to jump out of full screen to see if there's anything that I can do.
I almost wonder there's some phone caller who keeps jumping up. It keeps saying phone caller. And if there's anybody else who's on the phone who could mute it, that would be lovely. Because that way it may prevent this from happening.
Yeah, mine says there's two other people talking. Okay, no, I don't seem to be able to change it. Okay, so we always think, of course, about the diameter of the grab bar, whether we go with the 1.5 inch thickness or diameter of the bar or a thinner one. We're going to look at the person's preference and also their diagnosis and the person's ability to grip, whether the larger grip is going to be easier. We also think about the projection from the wall. Some of them are further from the wall than others, and we need to be thoughtful of that because it can increase the grip if the person needs to use a wrist to grip with. But also there is a danger of trapping an arm if the grab bar if there's too much space between the grab bar and the wall. Of course, we think about the finishes not just because of how they look, but it's certainly important, but also because of how they feel to the person, what their grip is like. We also think about, for vision deficits, the contrast of For instance, a yellow or an orange or a red grab bar is going to be much more definitive than a steel looking grab bar or a white on white. And that can be really important for somebody with low vision. So this is a basic grab bar, $20.98. I just downloaded it a few days ago from Home Depot. It's one of our home companies around here. It's kind of the go-to grab bar everywhere. And then there's, again, in the same store, you can get a prettier one. It's more expensive though. It's $61 in the same store. We can think about angled grab bars and modular.
One thing Linda says that I think sounds really cool is she said she put red tape stripes on a white grab bar. I think that's what you're saying, which was on a white wall. But what a great idea.
Yeah, I love that. I have a patient right now who has low vision, and her family keeps a stock of bright, like neon orangey yellow duct tape, and she has it striped just like that around the grab bars and the handheld shower where she has to grab for.
Ooh.
And even she has a little dab of tape on the end of her reacher, so that because she can't see where the reacher is, just highlighting the bars, I think, is a really good idea.
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed working with people who have cognitive or cortical blindness. Sometimes they can see color, they see some colors they can see better than others. Like red is one color that I find that people seem to be able to see if they can't see other colors. I don't know if anybody else has found that.
Yeah, I have a lot of people with macular degeneration, and that kind of bright orangey yellow really seems to work, that neon strong color. But that's interesting. I'm going to have to try the red as well. So angled grab bars and modular, I don't know what people think. I'd be interested in hearing what people think of angled bars and modular bars.
By angle, do you mean diagonal?
Like this kind, that there is already an angle in the grab bar, the one on the left. And then a modular one, I'm thinking, is something that you can create. Oh, yeah. Like, for instance, this one around the toilet is a modular one that, well, I guess that's an angled one, sorry. No, this one is modular.
I don't ever recommend diagonal placement for grab bars. And I don't know if anybody caught, there was a big discussion on it last year on OT Connections. And one person, Deborah Young, cited that for diagonal grab bars, that's actually the best that's the most anatomically correct way to mount a grab bar for someone to actually be able to grab it. But I feel like it's a whole lot more grip strength that is required in order to maintain your hand placement on the bar.
Yeah, I'd be really interested in hearing what people have to say about that, because that's something that I think there's pros and cons both ways. I think, for instance, in that grab bar that's there right now on the left, a person sitting, their anatomical hand position on the bar, the angled up bar is definitely going to be better right there. Yep. But if you're just putting your hand on it, but for direction of force, if I'm having somebody use a grab bar to stand up, I'm more interested in them pushing down on a grab bar in that situation than pulling back if they have their hand on that front part.
Yeah.
That's right, the toilet. So I think that I'm always interested in which way I want them to pull or push, and what's the grab bar encouraging them to do.
Yeah, well, and Linda writes she likes it so they can reach it in sitting and in standing, which makes sense too. Especially I've seen them like that by bathtubs.
Yeah, I like it. That's exactly where I like it as well. I like to have it if I have a person who is using a shower bench or a bench in the bathtub but is standing up to shower and turn around, then I like it much better to be at an angle so that when they're standing they can still have their hand on it
Yeah.
and then they can sit right back down and it's right there. I agree. And I very rarely recommend any kind of modular one. It was hard for me to find a photograph of one. This is an unusual, how many people have urinals in their bathroom at home, even though I hear that it's quite the thing some places. But this is a modular that where you can actually create your own angles, so it can go around corners. Do people tend to recommend those or install them?
I never even see them.
Sorry, I can't reach it to turn it off. Oh yeah, so oops, let me go back. So there we go. So another type of grab bar, of course, is the floor to ceiling pole. And I love these and I hate these. I think they can be mounted in many rooms. An extension is available. Hang on just one second.
Yeah, it's always hard to keep the house quiet.
Sorry about that. So those floor to ceiling poles, Superpole is one of them. Actually, it's the only one that I've ever seen, and it can be mounted in most rooms. If your ceiling is over 8 foot, you can get an extension, and there's an adapter for slanted ceilings, and it's adhered to the ceiling joists and uses pressure to secure it. And there's a lot of accessories available. And of course, I think the reason why sometimes I hate it, it's all depending on where it's positioned. It needs to be positioned for proper body dynamics. This is an example of one, and some of the extension, there's one extension off it, and then this, not a great copy, but these are some other accessories that can go on it. There's like a little tray table that can swing around to the seat, and this is an illustration of how it's added to the ceiling. Have you used those, Karen?
Yeah, I've got people who've really loved them, especially
Wow.
near toilets.
Yeah.
We've done them like in living rooms by chairs as well.
Uh-huh.
And Linda just writes.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Linda just writes, as far as the urinals go, that in their newspaper this weekend it talked about a waterless urinal for guys' basements, bathrooms. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
That I
That's
think
it.
in some cultures, in different countries, there are a lot of urinals in homes.
Yeah, that
Well,
that picture did look like that was a home bathroom.
yeah. Um, I think in some, yeah, I'm not sure where I saw it now. I can't remember. But I think there are some in some European homes as well. And the floor to ceiling pole, I've actually had some success with two different patients with a history of CVA, both of whom were pushers, who really needed to have a really strong stability on one side and were able to maintain standing and go from max assist of 2 to min assist of 1
Wow.
using these grab bars, because teaching them to really direct their tone, it really helped. So I love these floor to ceiling poles when they're put in the proper place, and they're really not that expensive either.
No. Alan Prince writes that he used his with a CVA as well and had good luck. He's had a lot
Yeah,
of success with those poles.
yeah. I really, it was a dramatic. It for this one client of mine. It meant that he could go home from a assisted living or a SNF area, actually. No, it was assisted living. and it meant that his family member was able to transfer him. We put two in, one beside his chair, beside his living room chair where he liked to sit, and one beside the bed.
Nice.
And then of course they're flip-up bars, and they can be either attached to the wall, or sometimes they have like a foot that goes all the way down to the floor to provide extra support. And then obviously they can be there when you need it and moved away to give access. And they don't have to be ugly. So this is a little bit more industrial style one on the left from Moen, even though it's prettier than they used to be. And then there's this other archieexpo.com. And I think, Karen, you have a nice one as well, don't you, on your website, don't you?
Yeah, those are
Those are
the Pancho Julio one.
Pancho Julio one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like those too.
Yeah, me too.
And they're so much sleeker now than these big ones. So the clamp-on tub, again, placed in the right place with somebody using it properly. I think these work great with some people, but if it's a person who's sitting down on the floor of the tub and using it to pull sideways, it's not going to work. It's going to pull off. And they also shouldn't be used on plastic or acrylic tubs, because the force to clamp it will damage the tub. But they can, used in the right place, I think these can be really successful too. I've seen them. And inexpensive, especially for renters who don't want to make changes, whether they're allowed to or not. They perceive that they don't want to make changes to the wall. This can help. So this is the dangerous part of it. This is one of the dangerous parts of our talk. These suction cup grab bars, I think, are the worst thing to come on the market. I don't know, has anybody had experience with these, or?
I have one that I use for evaluations sometimes, but I don't want people to actually lean on them. But the problem with is they work sometimes, and then sometimes they don't. So it gives people a false sense of security.
Exactly. I bought one when I saw them first. I bought one to try it, and I used it for, I was like, well, at least I can show people what a grab bar would look like, and it looks kind of pretty. And then I stopped doing that because people were like, oh, I'll just get one of those. And I'm like,
exactly.
Oh, no. Yeah, and if you read the if you read the specs of some of them, it even says that they're not designed to take body weight or to be used for leverage. They're only to be used as a balance aid.
What does that mean anyway? But Ellie writes, they pull tile off the wall. I've also seen where they've pulled the surrounds off the wall. Those acrylic surrounds, they pull them right off the wall too.
Oh man, yeah, I can imagine that, because the suction will and and it gives this false sense of that this is going to hold me up, and the whole thing comes down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if they cross a tile grout, it's not going to be secure, or if it's a textured surface, it's not going to be secure. I really don't like them.
No. And then Ellie also wrote Great Grabs. They have really cool grab bars as well. They're really interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a great, what did you call it?
Greatgrabs.com, and it's great, and then grabs ends with a Z instead of a S.
Okay.
But they have really great grab bars.
Oh, good. I'll look into them. Okay. And so I bet they have a lot of more examples then of these type of grab bars with accessories. This is a shelf on the one on the right side, and this is a soap dish again. Toilet paper holders. Gotta have toilet paper. And then the double duty of the grab bar and the shower slide bar. I like that a lot. If you are putting in a slide bar, I think if it's somebody who has issues, I think that it really should be a grab bar because it looks so like a grab bar. It's going to be used as one.
Yep.
So I think it really is important to have that be secure, and many of the manufacturers now have the slide bars are rated as grab bars. So again, this is that collar or shower stall. Yeah, so this is one of the fit-in collar stalls with an integral bar, and it does have a threshold right there, and it's the price I pulled up yesterday or whenever I did this last week or whatever was going on $4,000 retail. Just
Yeah,
alone.
that's pretty. That's not a great price.
Yeah, yeah, and they have issues still, right? So then this is the best bath example. Again, trying to find photographs that I could pull off these websites. So this is one of the best bath wall surrounds, I believe. And Karen, you use their products a lot,
Yeah.
right?
That's actually that's one of
Yeah.
their barrier-free models. Those are great. They're high quality and they're easy to install. Sometimes
Mhm.
when I first started doing this, the guys would install other sorts of um, barrier-free showers, but what I found was they had trouble leveling them. So then the water
Mhm.
would all pool in different places. But Best Bath, it seems to be easy to level or something. I don't know. We don't have. I've never had that problem with Best Bath shower. They're
And
really
they're
high
made
quality.
easy to access, right? They're easy to have down low enough to have a
Yep.
real barrier free. And they have many products as well that fit into different size spaces. And sometimes the best grab bar is not on the wall. It's not a
Woohoo!
grab bar. Yay, there is the
The comfort arms.
comfort arms. And I think that this picture, and I think that it's probably a great use of the comfort arms. I know we were talking the other day about whether the comfort arms can be used with a raised toilet seat, but I think the combination that I would see this being applied in is having an already comfort height toilet,
Yep.
one of the taller toilets, and having these arms along with it. I think that can often be that's usually when I'm recommending these other, or when I used to recommend, when I would recommend these toilet arms, is when the height of the toilet is already good for the person, whether it's a person who doesn't need a tall toilet or they already have the tall toilet but still need some more support. And very often putting the wall maybe just too far away from the person, but very often you just need bilateral support standing up and sitting down, or it's a person with a hemiplegia whose the wall is on the wrong side for a grab bar. Look, putting the support, whatever support the person is using, putting it in the proper place that encourages good body dynamics is really important. So installation of grab bars, there are several options now for wall installation of grab bars. There's finding the wall studs. I like this photo of this guy finding the wall studs above the tiles so that then you can find where they are below. And then putting in at least 3 screws into each stud, or into the stud at each end of the bar. And that's the tried and true method. But then there's also these toggle bolts of various manufacturers that really work very well for hollow walls. And this is, I'm sure most people are already aware of these. You put this toggle bolt in to, oops, what happened?
Uh-oh.
What did I do? Sorry, hang on, I'll get back. I clicked on the wrong place. There we go. Got me again?
I don't have you yet.
Did I lose you?
I don't know. Let me make sure that it's still open to
I've
go.
got it up on my screen, but let's try again. I'm the presenter, but I'm not sharing my screen. There we go. I'm clicking here at the permissions again. Let's see. Okay, I think now it should start coming back.
There we go.
You see my screen yet?
Yep.
Have I lost everybody?
Nope. Everybody's still here. Nobody's leaving. This is too interesting.
Oh dear, I can hear that you're talking, Karen, but I can't hear you.
Make sure my stuff's if I'm up just a second. You can't, can you hear me now?
The audio's kind of funny. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me, but I can't hear you. Oh no.
Can you see the chat?
Okay. Well, I am going to keep you on this view so that I can watch the chat, because it looks like you can hear me, but I can't hear you anymore. I can hear it crackle. So if you need to talk to me, chat to me on the computer. Okay, so this is the toggle for the hollow wall. It goes through the hole like this, and then you pull the plastic piece, and it flips the support that's illustrated here in yellow. And you snap off the plastic piece that you were using to position it, and then you screw the screws into that now secure toggle that's in the wall. And it does seem to be successful. I don't know if other people like using it or have a particular manufacturer that they like to use.
Can you hear me right now,
This is
Nina?
another illustration of the same thing. Did you talk again, Karen?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, my guy who's in the head of my head builder, he refuses to use any sort of toggle bolts at any time. What he likes to do is, if you can't do a toggle bolt and there's not a stud, what you have to do is have a backer board. And sometimes he puts them inside the walls, but sometimes if we don't have the budget for it and it's not in the shower, obviously, he'll put it outside, like a backer board outside the walls. So it'll be like a nice oak board, and he puts it, he just attaches it to the studs on the outside of the walls, or the insides, but typically the outsides. And then we can just put the grab bar on that. Just in case anybody comes up to a point where they don't want to use a toggle bolt. Because my guy says they're not, he hates them, he won't use them.
Is there a certain size sheetrock depth that you should be using them on, if at all?
I know a lot of times they'll say right on the package. But I don't know. My guy he just is totally against him.
So I wish I could hear everything. All the audio that I'm hearing is completely crackled and broken up. I'm not sure why. It looks like the system is hearing me speaking. I see there's a question: is there a liability concern if not a contractor is installing the grab bar? I'm not sure about the liability issues around that. I think that as occupational therapists, if we're just as a home care occupational therapist, I would not be installing grab bars. As a private practitioner, I have that's a different issue for me. And I know, Karen, that you are an official contractor, so you're covered. But I don't know what about other people.
Yeah,
I think I think each state and city have their laws and regulations about that. So this one, this is a different type of mounting hardware. This one is the Moen grab bar secure mount anchor, and again it's a similar kind of an idea where you drill a hole and you slip something in on one direction and then it flips around the other direction once it's in there, and then on the Moen one, this is another illustration of it. This plate is on the wall side, on the grab bar side, and the grab bar is attached to that with these smaller little set screws. And I know some people like those. I don't have experience with those. I've used the toggle ones frequently, but I haven't used this one. And then there's the Wing It, which is another type of fastener. You can see that it opens out like a tent, like a behind the wall, and provides a lot of support. I think they're rated up for £800 per Wing It.
Wow. Yeah, my guys don't like those at all. And none of them, like, I don't know why. I know one of them was complaining with Wingets, it makes a really big hole in the wall. So I guess the hole is like, I don't know, like 2 inches in diameter. It's quite big.
I'm hoping that I'm going to reread or listen to this recording of this and I'll be able to hear you. I don't know what's going on. So that's another one, and this is another illustration of the same thing. This is an illustration of how it pops out behind the hollow wall. And this is, I have never used this. I don't know, Karen or anybody else, if you have ever used this this one for fiberglass enclosures. It purports to, and I know I've talked to some people who have used it and love it. So it's a bridging piece that bridges the space between a stud and the fiberglass. So let's see if I've got another illustration. This is another illustration of it. So the wall area is here at the end of the grab bar, and then this is kind of like just almost as if it was a bunch of washers bridging the space between the fiberglass and that wall stud. So I would be really interested in hearing, or if you could write it on the chat so that I could hear it, anybody's feedback about those. I come across those fiberglass enclosures all the time in home care where people don't have the ability or the wish to replace it or do any major production. And this is one solution that I've heard some people have had good solution or good success with it. Yeah, I'm the same. I very often don't mount grab bar. I don't mount grab bars on those hollow surrounds, and I'd be interested in hearing if somebody has ever used this with some good success. Usually on those, if it's a tub with those hollow surrounds, I recommend tub transfer benches for safe transfers because they're such a problem. But I'm really interested in this. I might actually get one to play with it. And I did have one or two people tell me before that they liked it. Oh, sorry. I shouldn't. I got lost. Hang on. Let me go back to the right place. Here we go. No, did it again. Okay, we're coming to the end here. So the next thing that I wanted to think about was who should install bars. And I think that it needs to be a person with the know-how and with the tools. It needs to be somebody with experience and know how to recognize and drill through a variety of wall coverings, including various types and grades of tile. So the density of one tile will be very different from another, and sometimes you start off thinking something is going to be one way and it ends up being something else. So just having that ability to change and to change with what's happening on the day is really important. Also, old houses compared to new houses, the wall structure itself is going to be very different. And when necessary, the person knows how to find the wall studs, even though it's not necessarily all the time anymore, and how to avoid wiring and plumbing, and how to caulk the holes for making these holes in the wall that we put in, how and when to caulk to make sure that we're not creating water problems for the homeowner. And the person has to have all the tools necessary to meet unexpected eventualities. The next thing that I wanted to talk to about a little bit was about who pays. I know that most regular health insurances don't pay for grab bars installation, but some workman's comp does, some auto insurance, major disasters can pay. Client private pay is, of course, the most common financing matter. Sometimes it's family members, it's daughters and sons who are paying. And then if a person has assigned their home and their wealth to an estate, that can often be a little bit more forward thinking in purchasing these kind of environmental modifications. And also, if a person has reverse mortgaged their home to stay in the home, they're often more willing to use that finance to do that. There's also some loans available from banks for home modification. Also, if people are in great need, there's a lot of people in the middle who can't afford it and don't qualify for these kind of assistances, but there are a lot of finances available in different cities under different names, for example, through community block grants. And some are easily available and just people don't know about them, and so that the client can apply for the grant or for a very low interest loan and choose a contractor to pay. So we should always check the city website for that the client is living in, and root through that city website. Each city is different in how they use the money that they've been assigned and where they advertise it. And also check the city website for federally and state funded programs. So some programs that provide caseworkers can also provide for installation of grab bars, and they also have providers who they will call up and say, I've got this grant for this person, go install this, this, and this. Also, faith-based organizations, they sometimes have their own providers, but they also sometimes look for providers for installers. And so for one example here in the city I live in Oakland City in California, excuse me, which is by no means a very plush city. We've got a lot of financial problems. So there is a grant available for owner-occupied access improvement, for owner-occupied buildings, for access improvement. So for grab bars, ramps, all of those kind of things. They provide grants for accessibility modifications to owner-occupied properties. The grant of 15,000 grab bars and things like that, and ramps, or 24 if they need a lift. The home must be in one of the 7 community development districts, which are very poor districts in the city. And for this grant, the family income cannot exceed 80% of the area median income, and each area is going to dictate what their need is, and it'll obviously change depending on the area income. So that's one example of the city that I live in. And then a neighboring Costa County, which is also in this area, they have what they call the Neighborhood Preservation Program. And one of the features in that program is a low interest loan, 1%, with a 15-year term for accessibility improvements or other tasks to rehabilitate the home. So they can use this for painting or for roof work or things like that, but they can use it for grab bars and ramps, etc. And if the person is a homeowner, for a mobile home owner, or an applicant deemed unable to sustain a loan, it can be just a straight grant that does not need to be paid back. So a lot of money is through different cities, and these, again, the money is paid directly to the contractor, so the homeowner can choose a contractor. Each city has its list of people who they know about, but I think that they have different ways to get onto that list. And that is all I have. I still hear nobody. I can see that you can hear me. But does anybody have any questions? Oh, yes. So I just see the organizations like Rebuilding Together. Absolutely. Rebuilding Together and other organizations that actually use the same grants. Some of the cities provide those grants to entities like Rebuilding Together, and they provide the manpower and the work. I didn't go into those lists just for this group because I was thinking this group was more of the installers. But for occupational therapists to refer to Rebuilding Together, it's an awesome entity. I volunteer with them and put grab bars in with them once a month.
Wow.
So thank you very much, everybody. I hope that there was something new for some people. I know it's preaching to the converted. So Karen, I'll let you take over the screen again.
All right. Second.
And I'm going to mute myself now. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know how to take over the screen. Oh, wait, yes I do. Just found it, I think.